first panel of the AI Strategies Summit, Empowering Industries with AI Solutions for Large-Scale Challenges. Introducing our panel for this afternoon, Mr. Rahul Bhattacharya, who has graciously agreed to be our moderator, AI leader, GDS Consulting, EY. We welcome you, sir. Please grace the stage. We welcome Mr. Ganapathy V, VP Head, Global Advanced Analytics, COE, HOLCIM Group. Sir, can we hear a huge round of applause, please? Thank you. Mr. Saurabh Gupta, Digital Program Leader, APAC, Raytheon Technologies. And our final panelist, we have Mr. Ramadass, Director, Jothi Software Private Limited. Welcome, sir. Ms. Anuradha Kanamarlapudi. Pardon me if I got the pronunciation wrong, ma'am. Technology Manager, Software and AI Labs at GE Global Research. We welcome you. Thank you so much for being here, all of you. Mr. Rahul, Will.
Is this on? Yep, all right. Hi, everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for being alert, patient, right after lunch. Hopefully you had a good lunch. I'm very happy to be seated here today with this lady and these gentlemen from our industry who are really, not just, somebody mentioned this earlier today, walking the talk, right? For them, they are really doing the things and leading the implementation of AI in their businesses, which is impacting their employees and impacting their customers. So we are here to listen to their stories today. I'm just here to guide the conversation along, hopefully effectively. So let's get started. Gana, Saurabh, Anuradha, what I'd like to hear from you is the real stories, right? The real stories of what is being done from an AI perspective, and especially generative AI, which has opened up a whole world of possibilities in your organizations and the industries that you're working in. Gana, you want to go first?
Thank you, Rahul. I'm glad to be here. So maybe I'm not sure how many of you know HOLCIM Group. It's not well known directly in the country. So we are the global leaders in building materials, concrete, ready-mix concrete, cement, roofing material, etc. Till about a year ago, we had an active presence in India. We were the group company for ACC Cements and Ambuja Cements, which was divested about a year ago. So coming to AI, so I am part of the Global Center of Excellence, which is an entity set up to drive advanced analytics, AI, machine learning, data engineering practices, standardization in data management, data strategy, etc., across our group companies. So when I say group companies, we always say because of the nature of our industry, our operations are highly local. Our customers are local, their requirements are local. So we try to do a healthy mix of global versus local. It's not like one size fits all kind of solution. Talking about our AI journey, the way typically we have been going about it, regular frequency, we look at something called an AI radar, where we predominantly look at multiple dimensions of our operations. Let's say customer facing, our internal operations, support functions like HR, finance, legal, and what are the risks in terms of our continuity of business, external risk, market risk, data-related risk. And then double-clicking in each of these domains, we go into what is our data intensity. For example, a company of our nature is highly capital intensive, right? So we pretty much own our entire upstream supply chain, all the way from mining operations to quarry, limestone extraction. All our plants are captive, so we produce clinker, which is the key material for cement. We do the grinding of the clinker to arrive at the cement. And then the downstream distribution is also in most of the countries predominantly owned and operated by the group. So the entire value chain is fully owned by us, which also means a huge dependency on our how do you optimize our return on capital investment, right? So that is our first priority. Second thing is how do you mitigate the risk related to supply chain, risk related to committing our delivery timelines with our customers, making sure we are producing just in time. For example, concrete. We always say it is like a just-in-time supply chain, right? We have to deliver within about 90 kilometers or 1.5 hours of radius, beyond which the material will start strengthening and then solidifying, and that will affect the strength. So making sure that there is enough digital channels between our customers where they can place orders based upon their construction schedule, linking them real time to our batching plans, and then we shipped on just on time. And sustainability is one of our key pillars for our success as well as the strategy. Making sure how do you bring in raw material optimization, how do you leverage the demolition waste, construction waste, bring it back circularity into the entire ecosystem. So a couple of AI projects predominantly looked into how do you reduce the downtime of our equipment, can I predict the failure rates, bringing in technologies like drones for remote surveillance, accessibility to those parts of the equipment where it is not that safe for humans to go down. And if you take an example of a kiln, right, it operates at almost 1300 to 1400 degrees Celsius. If there is a failure, by the time you shut it down, cool it down, and again fix the repair, and then turn it back to the operation, we have lost a significant amount of productivity. So the objective always is, can I predict which subsystem is going to likely to fail? Can I create early warning systems for that our maintenance team can fix those action items, and then we don't have a downtime? Secondly, what should be the right quality, right? So over quality is also equally bad for us because there is a price in which customers are willing to pay. And over quality necessarily means in a higher cost of production, and obviously under quality is something which is a strict no-no. So how do you optimize the quality levels? In the case of, let's say, cement, what should be my optimal fineness? If it is too fine, it will affect my strength. If it is too coarse, it will also affect my strength. So bringing in process controls end-to-end from quarry to lorry, the way we speak. So from the time we extract the raw material, produce the clinker, grind it into cement, dispatch to our final customers, how do you make sure that we have the right amount of quality and efficiency in the processes? So these are some examples where AI has really playing as an accelerator for businesses. Our entire data strategy, we always say we don't have a number one data strategy. It's a fallout of our business strategy because we work backwards. What are my top 3 priorities for the business? What data I have, what data I don't have, what kind of solution which are required to sustain those business benefits. So that is how the strategy has been laid out. Specifically talking about examples related to GenAI, customer touch points, making digital channels much more intuitive and interactive with our customers, providing personalized recommendations. So somebody, let's say if I'm an architect, I want to visit the site to understand what specs should I select. Do I have to go through an optimal sequence of search path to arrive at what I need? Depending upon my profile, can I get a specific recommendation on what I'm looking for based on the tons of documents I have at the depository behind my website? These are some of the examples where we have seen GenAI in action already across multiple countries across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Gana. Saurabh?
Thank you. Yeah, I think this one is not working. Good afternoon, good to be here. So for those of you who do not know RTX, we are world's one of the largest or the largest aerospace and defense company. So one of the things for AI for us was not an option, right? It's something that you do not follow, you do not survive, right? It's not an option, and that's something well established in large players, especially technology-driven companies like RTX. So you take it very, very seriously. It's not a choice for us that we have to do something in AI. The second point, which is very important from a philosophy standpoint, and I want to leave that thought with people in the room, especially the ones which are various startups that are there, is that sometimes we overuse the technology and not look at the use case. AI sometimes becomes the tail that wags the dog, okay? So the second thing that we did at our organization is we are ensuring that it's a use case driven approach. What is the problem you are trying to solve? It becomes much easy from a change management, implementation, a lot of other aspects, that how do you implement that? So like any other large complex organization, we have a very complex environment with various sources of data, various applications, and we are still on a very early stage journey of AI. Where we want to be in a near-term future, we have a clear roadmap to be an organization which is extensively using AI. And in the long term, we want to be AI-powered organization. All that is good, and it's good to have a vision. But let me take you an example which will excite you all. Okay? We did an announcement in Paris Air Show last year, followed by a big announcement today morning. So if you go to LinkedIn, you go to Pratt & Whitney, which is one of our business companies, you look at a huge announcement we did that where we used an AI solution to develop a very simple but a very potent use case. The use case was very simple. We are into the business of engine leasing. Engine goes out, comes back, clean it up, send it back, right? How can we use AI or technology to make that process faster, more efficient, and make money in the process? To this use case, we went about the approach of that AI can solve that problem. We found an Indian startup across, of course, we went a program, ran a long program and things like that. We found an Indian startup which can use a simple iPhone to detect any missing parts on an engine. Okay? This startup, only by the simple picture from an iPhone, can identify 200 parts on an engine, okay, with a 96% accuracy. And we are taking them to the market. We have done a big announcement. We have invested a significant amount of money as a customer in them. So that's the approach we are taking, that what exactly is the use case which can be powered by AI. Of course, in the systems, processes front, there's a lot of work that is done that I'm happy to cover at that point in time. But the starting point that I wanted to cover was, technology is great. What's a use case? Let's go from there, and then we execute that. Thank you.
Thanks, Saurabh. And I think that what you said reminds me of, one of my gurus, Clayton Christensen, the father of disruptive innovation, right? He keeps saying, first thing, the job to be done, right? Always focus on the job to be done. Any technology that you're working on, especially AI, we sometimes get myopic, right? Because we are practitioners. That's what we are in all the time. And I like to say that the problem exists independent of the solution. Absolutely. Right? And that unless you find the problem and really understand the problem, it doesn't matter what you're bringing to the table. So thank you for making that point. Anuradha, over to you.
Thank you. So I'm from GE Healthcare. So we were part of the larger GE conglomerate, and at this point in time, I represent GE Healthcare and I lead their research arm. It's called the Technology and Innovation Center out of India. And we work on multiple healthcare challenges. So just to give you a landscape, when we talk about AI and healthcare, there is a lot of thought about, can we predict diseases? Can we let a machine take a decision by itself? And there is also fear that comes along with it. But in my perspective, there are three things when you deal with healthcare. There is a patient, there is a doctor, there is a hospital. And there is a lot of stuff that can be done when all of these things are brought together. So there could be productivity improvements for a hospital, there could be workflow enhancements. For a doctor, it could be an assistive tool to kind of tell them, what's happening to the patient. And for a patient, it could be a lot more support in terms of, giving you some kind of precision insights. I'll give you a couple of examples, and I know Saurabh just talked about use case driven approach, so I'll not steal the show from you. That's the same approach that we follow. And the interesting part is we actually talk to a lot of people before we kind of try to, get to the depth of the problem. So I'll take my favorite example. So this is also close to my heart on the cancer side. So we spoke to a lot of oncologists across the globe, and we met one of these doctors. He's a radiation oncologist in the National Cancer Center in Singapore. And he said, hey, when I see my patients on a daily basis, I have to go through like tons of their reports. So when I'm getting a patient tomorrow, I need to get a glance of his entire history on who has seen him, what has been his treatment, what has happened, what was the previous treatment, how has things changed till that, what is his current state. And apparently they spend at least an hour on the previous day studying the data of all the patients whom they're going, for each patient whom they're going to see the next day. So which is a lot of effort. So they asked us, can you provide us, is there some way you can have AI that helps us show the longitudinal journey of a patient? Okay, just like a longitudinal journey of a machine or an asset. And it was very complex because cancer, as all of you know, is a very complex disease. It is multi-organ, multi-modality, it spans across multi-specialities. The patient could have comorbidities, and there are no two cancer patients who are the same. So there is lots and lots of data around for a given cancer patient, and it was a huge challenge for us to kind of get things onto the plate. And now with generative AI coming into picture, there are already lots of needs about saying, okay, surface me, what does this report say? Okay. Many of you would have seen PET reports, you would have seen radiology reports. They run into pages and pages and pages. But then the doctor really wants to see the essence of what is there in the current report, what has changed from the previous report, what are the tests, what was the previous treatment that the patient has taken, and how has he or she responded to that. So that's one of the challenges, and this is a problem statement that we got from the industry. The second interesting statement, problem which is also another one which is closer to our heart is equipment. So there's a lot of hospital equipment across multiple hospitals, and we always want to make sure that they are up all the time so that patients are not inconvenienced, or there is no unwanted incident that happens while the patient is on the table. So we use a lot of predictive analytics to determine when the asset goes down, and that again involves a lot of AI in there, both to predict or also time when they need to go in for their servicing. And no two assets are the same. Just like no two humans are the same, no two assets are the same. A lot of it depends on the usage, where was it used, which hospital, how many patients have been on it, so on and so forth, and many of those things. So these are some of the challenges that we see on our side. AI is an enabler for many of this. AI is not a solution, but it definitely helps you improve a lot of things in terms of workflow or productivity, or better giving doctors back their time, is what I would say.
Key question, Anuradha, is, have you solved the problem of reading the doctor's handwriting?
So thankfully, a lot of them are now digitized, but understanding the digitized notes is another challenge.
Thank you. Raja, I wanted to ask you, as being in the service provider side of the equation, right, so to speak, which is where I come from as well, and we are working with multiple such organizations and on different problems. What's your take on sort of the technology landscape, especially cloud infrastructure, in being an aid to allowing organizations to rapidly experiment and industrialize on such AI solutions?
Sure, thank you. So just to quickly answer your question, recognizing doctors' handwriting, there are systems in AWS, Amazon Comprehend, which can read data from, documents, clinic reports, and make insights. It can create insights. So there are systems available in AWS. And just a little intro about ourselves. We are Jothi Software Private Limited, offering software development services to clients in the US, UK, and Singapore, predominantly providing AWS-based solutions. Since we have been in the AWS zone for about 7 years, we have started adopting AI in the AWS world. And one cool thing is like there are a variety of services in AWS which do not require machine learning expertise. So basically you need to understand what the service offers. And since we are using AWS services for a while, we'll be able to integrate and leverage the existing services offered by AWS. For example, there are services like Lex. We have started, it's more like a conversational AI tool. We have built a few solutions, rather we are working on a few solutions. One for a real estate company in UK. So basically, we have built an agent portal for the company. And agents can basically query and like get to know about the projects, the inventory availability. And to note, the inventory availability is external system, right? So we have integrated with this. So all of these information, they can just get it based on a simple chat, right? So that's going to be pretty useful for them. Even though there is not much fancy in it, but it's not simple text, but real-time inventory, real-time price across locations, right? So similarly, we have built a few more use cases for support use case. There are support systems. So the cool thing in AWS is you can integrate the services altogether. You may already have an API, you may already have a huge database with volume of data. So it's all up to us how we leverage and integrate. And the other use case we have been working on is QuickSight, which is like a data visualization and business intelligence sort of stuff. And there is AI in BI as well. So we are experimenting with a customer who has sales data for about 4 years. So about millions of orders are there. Basically, we segment them and then help them understand, where most of the sales is coming from, which marketplace, Amazon or eBay, or on which sector, things like that. Other than that, there were use cases for recommendation systems. So those are the things we are currently working on. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Raja.
Thank you.
As all of us are well aware, when we start walking the talk and when the proverbial tire hits the road, the first thing that happens is the tire punctures, right? It doesn't work, right? So, Anuradha, let me start with you. What are some of the challenges that you face when you try to bring AI solutions to life, and what have you all been doing to address those challenges?
Yeah. So there are a couple of different challenges when we talk about bringing AI solutions to life, and I'll divide it into 2 parts, or maybe even 3 parts. The first is when you're developing your AI solution, and I think everybody who's touched AI in any form knows that getting data is a huge problem. And getting data on the healthcare side is even a bigger problem, given that there are a lot of privacy concerns and all of that. There are geographical boundaries on how data could be, sourced and distributed across. That's the first challenge that we have. The second is, how do we get data that is unbiased? Sorry, I'm still in the development phase. So unbiased data is the second thing. So we need to make sure that we have the right data set, or we should be able to generate data that is validated well enough to make sure that our models are, predicting with a good deal of accuracy. Otherwise, we would, kind of land into problems. That's one of the biggest challenges. The second, even on the development side, on the healthcare sector, this is very specific, right? We have multiple hospitals, and each hospital has its own IT infrastructure. They all store data in different formats. Now, getting it into a single uniform format and making sure that, it's all semantically validated and they are using the same kind of structures and they're interoperable is the next one. Once we cross all those hurdles, I think the next one is when we go into the next phase. It is all about, how do we scale it? How does the solution that is developed with one kind of a data set work across, multiple situations, scenarios, hospitals, patients, or whichever way we can. And especially when we talk about workflow optimization, right? the workflows that are there in every single hospital are very different, unless there are a chain of hospitals. So what works in one place would probably not work in another place. There is a lot of customization effort that we would need to do. And then the third challenge would be scaling and adoption. Now, scaling is probably more technology-driven, so you could scale it once you adopt it. You know, it takes a little bit of time, but we should all have the patience to kind of scale it further. Adoption is a huge challenge, because adoption is not just about, you know, putting your technology out there on a machine, installing it, connecting it to the cloud and all that. There is a lot of hesitancy in humans to adopt to something new. So the hospital staff or whoever are the users, they need to be trained to start using the new systems, which means there is a lot of unlearning that has to be done at that end and learning. So a lot of motivation has to be there from the end user to kind of adopt to the system. And that has been, you know, a challenge. So the whole thing of what is in it for each person, and how does it actually enable them or support them to do their job than by, you know, the proverbial think of, okay, AI is coming in and it's going to snatch my job. So that's the other problem. And of course, the simple things of cost and many of those things. So we know in many hospitals, the budgets are managed by someone, the user is someone, the CIO is someone else. So who needs what? And joining all those pieces together is the other challenge that we have.
Thanks, Anuradha. Saurabh, what about you? I mean, you're working in an industry that's probably highly regulated and working with governments. That should probably bring about its own challenges, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely. And I think we have what Anuradha covered and a lot more. Purely as a function of the industry we operate in, there are extensive amount of regulations about data that can, for example, there is GDPR and there is a lot of ITAR related aspects where you cannot take the data out of certain systems, not even onto the cloud, forget about bringing them to India or to develop solutions. There are a lot of challenges related to processes associated with it. There's not enough frameworks available in terms of how data should be handled. So that's one part of the challenges. We are coming up with innovative ways where we have created separate set of data. We are extensively looking at solutions like synthetic data to develop solutions. The second set of problem is the change management related to people. That's again, you face a lot of resistance. In a highly tech space, there are specialized skill set that is available for people. So one of the things that we also have realized is to use AI and position AI as assistive technology to start with, so that it is not perceived as threat neither to the people, not to the regulators. So certainly you cannot hand over an inspection job to an AI. So second part is extensively people-driven. Third is, I think from a technology standpoint also, there is a lot of standardization required. I think we're just scratching the surface. There is no standard solution that is interoperable. So we are in silos starting a lot of application, and that's one challenge that we are trying to address by creating a common platform. So we're using a building block approach, if I may call it, where we are looking at data and data-related issues. We're looking at processes, where we are creating processes which can be uniform. Third is, which I have not covered, but it's very, very important, is how do you leverage external ecosystem. We are really, really into technology, and we know what we need to do, but we also understand that we don't know it all. So there is an extensive program to engage with various stakeholders, evolved technology players, startup in the ecosystem across various countries. So we are shameless. We have no shame in admitting that there is a lot of work that can be leveraged from the great work being done outside. So we are collaborating. We have created those platforms. We are participating in events like this to ensure that that also becomes a part of our AI play. But I will still say, having done all that, there is a long way to go before it becomes a norm in a complex industry like ours.
Thanks, Saurabh. Gana, anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think most of the time the graphs look green at the other side. So I think pretty much we resonate with all the challenges, but one of the very tactical challenges, I keep hearing, every time we start a use case or an initiative, one of the biggest feedback from our data scientists is, I want to know what data lies where. Now, that's a bit of a combination of what we call it as data stewardship, right? So a business SME, a data SME, and probably an IT SME need to come together. And this becomes really bad when you're talking about, let's say, an organization like us, which is across many countries, and various legacy systems, different versions of the legacy system. Each different entity is different, processes are different. So this grid of what should I find, where, how do I extract it, that is a bit of a challenge we keep on referring to, but some amount of them are already getting addressed while we are progressively building data lakes as well as bringing in the data mesh into the equation. Still, when a new use case comes, it remains a bit of a black box. Who can clarify or rather translate the business term of the data to the corresponding, the so-called IT term of the source system, right? So that continues. It's always interesting to see what innovation can further happen in that area.
Cool, thanks, Gana. Raja, we heard about responsible AI earlier, right? From your perspective, there is concern about privacy and about security when it comes to cloud systems, right? And that's one of the key areas within responsible AI. What are some of the cloud providers, right, doing to address those issues?
I can talk about AWS. So they pretty much take care of responsible AI. The services have cards, pretty much it describes the service, the fairness of the service and things like that. And same thing with the security. The services are secure, and also, it's also on the hands of the implementers. So there are two parts, as an infrastructure, AWS provides a secured environment, and it's also the responsibility of the implementer to, when they build the solution, they build it in a secured manner and, compliant to responsible AI. And as responsible AI, it's more like a fair policy, like having trust, doing good, but rather not build anything in a negative way, right? So, I think it's the infrastructure as such AWS provides, and it's up to the implementer to be compliant with that and build it. That's what I would say.
And what I feel is that, look, there is policy and procedure, right? Yeah. But what's equally important is the tooling, right? Which then implements the ability to track. Is the policy being followed? Is the procedures being followed? And having visibility into where they're not being followed.
Yeah, transparency.
With the ability to make a change. So the tooling becomes very important. I think there's a lot of focus on the policies and procedures. I think we need to put a lot more, and running the GCCs of the world over here, it behooves us to really think about the engineering and the tooling of how do you bring that to life for every single model you put into production.
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I think we have got about 4 minutes left. I believe we were doing Q&A, so if there are any questions from the audience, we'd be happy to take them for any of the panelists. Otherwise, we'll just keep talking. We can do this forever. I see a hand raised over there. Can we get a mic across to him, please?
This question is for both Ganapathy and Saurabh. By the way, fantastic panel, learned quite a bit. I have a quick question. Of the startups that you see, specifically from India, are there a set of technologies that you are seeing that sort of attracts your attention, saying that, hey, these are the 2 or 3 things within India that we are seeing that could be big in the next 10 years? By the way, my name is Shantanu.
Thank you, Shantanu.
So we do have an arm in the group exclusively looking for partnerships, innovation, not just limited to India. In fact, we have been in touch with Rajni and the NASCOM AI COE team to look at what technology we can bring in, what learnings we can bring in. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And not just for a particular market, but once you get into our ecosystem, it's a global replication, right? So we do continue to scan around. Recently, we had announced multiple partnership in some of the European countries where we are bringing in, good example is, can I efficiently measure the quantity of raw material in a big heap using some smart sensors, which otherwise the inventory cycle count, etc., becomes such a big issue. So one example on top of the mind. So we continue to look forward to what can be brought in as an accelerator, drive sustainability, reduction in carbon footprint, driving more predictability in our operations, making more and more out of our capital invested on the various assets, etc. So it's an ongoing process, I would say.
Thanks, Shantanu. Good question. So, just to give an example, I met with Sanjeevan a couple of months back, and we wanted to look at certain areas where Indian startups are as good as some of the other markets. And believe me, we couldn't zero on any areas, because in all areas, they are very, very competitive. To name a few, we look at cloud startups, a lot of AI-related work in cloud, a lot of work related in computer vision, applications specific to industry. So, for example, aftermarket. You look at an area, you identify an area, and go into that area, there is an Indian startup that is doing great work, and there'll be multiple ones. So it's difficult to point out one area, but I'll say wherever we have looked at, and I'm not saying just to have I'm a flag bearer of an India story, but actually it's a fact that quality of work that has been done thanks to organizations like NASCOM IoT is phenomenal. So we have applicable use cases. Startup will be from India, maybe registered somewhere else for whatever reason, but there are enough and more startups and innovators from India doing some great work in all areas related to AI, with applications across industries, applications across specific verticals. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. I think we're running out of time, so I'm so sorry. If we can conclude, I'd request, Rahul, do you have conclusive
thank you.
remarks?
I'd like to thank Gana, Saurabh, Raja, and Anuradha. Thank you for participating and giving some real experience-based insights to the audience today that I'm sure will be extremely valuable for them as they're going through their own journey as well. So great to moderate a panel such as yours. And thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd request Mr. Pushkar from Qualcomm to do the honors and give our panelists a small token of appreciation from our side. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in today. Thank you for that insightful discussion and a few points for us to ponder on. Next up, we have a very interesting fireside chat with Mr. Naganand Doraswamy, Managing Partner, Founder at Ideaspring Capital, and the icon of AI, who we've called AI-con, Mr. Vivek Raghavan, co-founder Sarvam.ai. Vivek, we're very keen on understanding what Sarvam.ai is building and what is full stack Gen AI. Over to you, sir. Yes, please clap.
This one is working. Hi. So I have a new name for Vivek today, Icon of AI. So thanks for that, Sobrigate. So thanks for NASCOM for hosting this, and Vivek, welcome. First of all, very glad from the ecosystem side that you're one of the companies, I believe, in the product innovation that has raised the maximum capital, right? I've never seen anybody in the product innovation system raise the kind of capital you guys raised. So awesome. I know there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, but it's great to see that from the ecosystem. But I want to start off by talking to you about AI, where AI is everywhere today, right? And you have been looking at AI for the past 4 or 5 years, at least. So what has changed in terms of the foundation model, and why is that become such a common talk in everything? Nobody can make a sentence without talking about AI in the tech industry today. So what has changed from your perspective from 3 or 4 years, or even a year ago to today?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I think first of all, thank you so much for having me in this panel, and thanks to NASSCOM. And I think that obviously, if you look at from the long arc, lots of interesting things have been happening in AI. Probably in the last 10, maybe 12 years, a lot of interesting things are happening. And I think first things happened, kind of in the vision space, and lots of, how deep learning began to actually dominate the vision space. Then, things started happening in NLP and stuff like that. So, and we see that there are just so many things that are happening. Actually, it's a very interesting space. Almost every day something new comes out, and something
now I would say every hour.
You're more advanced than me, but yeah. So it's a very exciting time to be there, because the kinds of innovation that is happening, and I think and we're really at the beginning of this innovation. But what happened, last year, and as you know, we can call it the ChatGPT moment, if you want to call it that way. I think it's, as from the pure technology perspective, it was a continuum. But from a perception perspective, people suddenly kind of understood that how this is going to change everything. And that's really the thing that happened. It's more from a perception perspective that people understood how this can change things. And I think that's really why. And today, I think it's very clear that 2 or 3 things are very clear. First thing is that, every process will change, okay? I think that no matter what you are doing, whether it is you're just doing the pre-AI space, I think there's just so many more things that you can do as a result of that. And the second thing is, I think fundamentally, it is going to be a deflationary, a force, in the sense that things will be much less expensive than they used to be, and all kinds of things that you could never imagine could have been done before will now become possible. And I think that's the exciting part. And and I think that at least our vision, right, as that I think in the end, and this is not individual as a vision, I think that the nation that uses AI the most extensively will actually benefit the most from this. I mean, and that's really the key thing, that if we become users of AI to do useful things, to make our lives better, to get every child to get an education or whatever I think that usage is what is going to, and so therefore accessibility becomes the key point as to.
So to your point on, is it because of the user interface? If I used to use the term ChatGPT very loosely, where how users interact with the system, that made the huge difference? Or is it because of the foundation models coming and saying it doesn't matter voice, video, text, anything will be solved by this model? What enabled it? I know, what is a continuum there? And why did it change so suddenly? Is it?
So I think it's a combination of all of these things, right? I mean, I think the fact that, foundation models, work on foundation models has been going on for at least 6-7 years. At least foundation models work has been going on foundation models. And there were people who believed that as you make these models bigger and bigger, there will be emergent properties, all kinds of interesting things will come out of it. And then conversation actually ends up being, and I think that conversation becomes an interface by which people see, wow, this, I think that just changes the perception. The interface changes the perception. And I personally believe that, I mean, I think that the interface, while, I think things will be multimodal, but I think people will speak. And, and when you're talking about the, billions of people in India or outside the developed world, I think that we have to get to a place where people can get stuff done just by speaking.
I'll come to the Bharat AI for a minute.
Yes.
But before that, want to talk to you about, and also I think in the initial people also said, what is Sarvam up to now? What are you guys looking at solving? And what is the startup all about?
Yeah, I think so. I think the word that we've used is, we've called it a full stack Gen AI company. And what we mean by that, I think, is very clear. We think that this technology is so fundamental, right? It's so fundamental that we think that it is going to impact everything. And, for people who know my background, I mean, I've been actually working in lots of digital public goods in various, projects of, national importance and things like that, which are where, and I think that when this thing happened, and I've been working on the Bhashini project, right, on building AI for Indian languages was really the background. And so I said that now when this thing, frankly, even though we were working in this space, even though you understood at some level, it did take us by surprise that, hey, this is something that is really much bigger. And when you see that and now I think it is the impact of this on every aspect of life is going to be so significant that we believe that there should be, Indian efforts to do this starting from the fundamental level, right on up to prompt engineering and actually giving access to people. And I think that you have to look at all of these pieces, because if for some reason in this technology in India we become a situation where we are kind of dependent on only on frontier models, I think that is something that maybe. And so I was thinking, what is the right way to do this? And frankly, in the beginning, given my background, I was thinking more in the public space, more in the in the nonprofit space. But I think the speed of things was so great that I think that you realize that when the fundamental goal is really access to people, and you have to do this fast, and you have to really build a company which understands really from the depth of this technology, the only way to do this is actually in the private sector. And so therefore, and we decided, and we made the pitch. And
Awesome. Because there's a lot of talk on whether India can build foundation models or not, and I'm glad you guys are solving the problem.
Yeah.
So just to get to that Bharat application, right? So you said we should have our own stack, we should have our own foundation models. So what, if you were to say one or two use cases that Sarvam stack would want to solve, or people would want to use Sarvam full stack to solve, what would be one of those two use cases where you say, look, use our stack for these two use cases?
So I think one of the first things that we are focusing on is really building a stack which is voice first and Indian language first. That's really the focus. Now that is kind of a horizontal thinking, which can be applied in various different areas. And we certainly see places like education, places like fintech. There are actually lots of places like even in healthcare, there are opportunities of using these kinds of technologies but when we are talking about, we want to basically build things that are in Indian languages and in Indian context. So therefore, so people can do useful things that are related to their lives. But I really think that this is a technology where before this, can there be a good tutor for every child in the country? I think this is something that was beyond our imagination. And I think that this technology, still where there is a long way to go, I think it is now in the realm of possibility and will happen. I mean, and I think that, and that's where we have to see as to the applicability of this for things that are meaningful for us at the price point that this market will bear. That's why we need to look at this technology at a deeper level. Of course, we use everything that's happening in the world. That's not but we will not shy away from solving the hard problems when they're related to us.
So like any technology, right? I mean, it has multiple different applications. It could be the end users or the retail market that one could look at.
Yes,
and there's
absolutely.
an enterprise market one could look at.
Yes.
And there's a B2C model, right? Where enterprises will build for somebody retail. now that you're constructing or building this entire stack for the next Gen AI, how do you see Sarvam's product being used? You see enterprise use cases for internal use cases, or you see enterprises building for consumers to use it, or you see consumers utilizing your stack for whatever purpose they want? You know, what is your business model in terms of how you are positioning yourself?
No, I think, as I said, maybe this is part of the full stack story. I think the answer is actually all three, right? It's not that I think that there are certain use cases which may end up being, you know, population scale direct to consumers, or there may be situations where businesses leverage these technologies to access consumers, and certainly there are cases, efficiencies within the business themselves. And I think all these three areas are things that Sarvam will address.
But what about the ecosystem around Sarvam, right? So Sarvam will build a partnership ecosystem around it that people can, like for example, take education space you talked about.
Yes.
How will your stack revolutionize, if I were to ask the direct question of how will your stack potentially revolutionize education? How would that vision pan out for you?
I think so. One of the things that we will be doing is that we are kind of going to be working with partners down in each vertical to see how these things can come in there. Not just one, maybe multiple partners in each one of the verticals to do that. I think as long as people are aligned with our vision of how to do things. I mean, clearly people understand the businesses much better than we can, but I think that we are putting together these things that allow them to kind of reimagine their businesses.
So you have to play this out over the next year or two to see how this
so. I think part of this thing is that we are certainly, we want to build this deep technology. How this will play out in the market, I think, is something that if I say I know how it is going to be, nobody should believe me.
So that's something we all need to discover.
We all need to discover. I mean, I can see that there are many possible ways it could go, but as I said, there are so many variables here that.
Sure. I think it says running out of time, but I'll ask one last question I had in my own head. So you have been with the government and you have been exposed to policies and you have been in enterprises before. So next 5 years, I know India has policy on AI and large amounts of capital are being talked about. I don't know how much capital will be allocated by the government of India, but at the same time, you expect private enterprises also to invest. Where do you think the investment has to go in the next 5 years in India specifically in this space? Where do you think the investment will go, both in academics as well as in the industry?
See, I think if you look at it at one level, right, I think if you compare the kind of investment that is there globally versus the kind of investment that's there in India, the investment in India is currently very small, right? I think that, and I think that lots of really good entrepreneurs are being forced to actually make suboptimal decisions because of lack of capital. So, but I think that things are changing. I hope that what we have done is a sign of change. That
it's a harbinger, I would say.
Yeah. and I think that, but it's a responsibility as well. I think that to show that out of India you can build a deep tech company that can compete with the world and actually provide meaningful solutions to India in a space where I think it's very important.
Cool. And I wish you all the luck. And
thank you.
I know I'm confident that we'll build a full stack, including the foundation model out of India. And it's great. And I would love to see use cases come out of the stack that you're providing. And then not only in India, but hopefully across the world.
Absolutely. I hope so too. And stay tuned. Hopefully it's not too long before we announce certain interesting things.
Sorry, I'm out of time for questions, but we will probably, Vivek will be around and I don't have any answers, so probably go talk to Vivek and get all the answers. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Naganand. I would request Atul Batra, sir, please. He's a key ecosystem enabler, one of our speakers who will be joining us later. But I request you to please share one of our tokens of memento. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you. We move on to the next session. We have the team from Cisco with us. Kavyaa, one of the Cisco business leaders. Dhruv, Director of Technology, Cloudphysician. Happy to have you, Kavyaa.
Thank you, NASCOM team, for having us here. Hi all, I'm Kavyaa from Cisco. Today, organizations across the world are rethinking the way they operate as the global economy still continues to see uncertainty and constraints throughout the world. So, transformation is no longer an aspiration. It's a #1 priority for many organizations. Of course, transforming a business infrastructure to a digital-first model might look daunting, but it doesn't need to be. With Cisco and Meraki, we help the customers to easily deploy and integrate with newer technologies, and the flexibility gives the best experience to your customer as well as to your employees. Who are we? We are passionate people who believe in providing best customer experience through technology. The Cisco Meraki platform has cloud networking foundation comprising of cloud-first model, open API to better integrate and automate. We have vast application that will help you to customize the management and the monitoring of your network. We can scale to meet the needs of SMB to large enterprise across the world. The architecture powers SD Access, SD WAN, SASE, and IoT products and solution. The entire Meraki platform works on our highly acclaimed intuitive dashboard that gives you an end-to-end visibility. Looks like the slide is moving faster than me, so let me try to fix this. So we started our journey as a Meraki in 2006 and got acquired by Cisco in 2012. Fast forward to today, we cater to 784,000 customers, managing 4+ million networks, and answering 9+ billion API calls. This shows with 99.9% SLA. This kind of shows the scale at which we operate and the kind of trust our customer have bestowed on us. So, what is our value proposition? We are very easy to deploy, very easy to use, easy to manage and troubleshoot. We are very dynamic, so we learn from newer situations and technologies. Our intelligence is based on deep insights and analytics. Our unified experience across IT, OT, and IoT enhances the business intelligence, and our automation dramatically improves the use case and the experience. And how can we help you? You can do a lot in less time, work with lean organization. We help you to adapt to changes in the business. We help you to keep your network, applications, and data secure. We keep your customer and the employees connected to their network, devices, and the application wherever they are in this world. Due to time constraint, I have curated some common use cases and how Meraki can address it. Sustainability. Whether you are in healthcare, manufacturing, IT, ITS, whatever the segment be, everybody wants to contribute to sustainability initiative and bring down their carbon footprint. And Cisco Meraki products can help you to achieve that net zero goal. Our products can automatically adjust the device and the power parameters, thereby reducing the energy cost and also reducing the operational wastage. Our remote monitoring helps you to cut the support time and reduce the travel cost. And monitoring the temperature, indoor air quality, and humidity will help you to reduce the carbon footprint. Water leakage detection will help you to reduce the water wastage. Physical security. Surveillance and the video content will help you to control the access to the spaces, help you to create an environment that is safe, healthy, and comfortable for your customer and employees. Our hazard detection will help you to mitigate risk and also avoid disputes due to accidents. Lean operations. Our automation at scale, bring your own device, zero-touch provisioning, remote monitoring, talent optimization using AI and ML, all this will help you to reduce the cost, fast forward your business growth, improve the efficiency, because you can proactively detect the issues and at the same time provide a resolution for it, thereby increasing the efficiency of your employee and that of a customer. The list is long, but due to time constraint, I will hand it over to our customer, Cloudphysician, to share their experience and how Meraki has impacted their business and the network. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavyaa. Dhruv, I'd request you to be a little brief. We're actually running out of time here.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kavyaa. Where is the... Where's my presentation?
Dhruv, it's coming. If we could start.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Dhruv and I lead technology at Cloudphysician. We focus on critical care. Cloudphysician, we partner with hospitals and convert their traditional ICUs into smart ICUs. Thereby improving the quality of care. We save lives. For every 10 patients we see, we save one life. And we help hospitals take care of sicker patients and more patients. Now, what is a smart ICU? What you see on the left here is a doctor sitting in front of a computer. And on the right, it's a hospital in a different city. And you see in the middle image, there's a high-definition camera that this doctor can control. So we're going to live stream everything that's going on in that ICU 24/7 to a remote doctor who's an expert, who's an intensivist. And he has his own team of nurses who are also remote. And they will be an extended team for that hospital taking care of their patients. Right now, we are around in 180 hospitals across a lot of cities in India. And we have some presence in Bangladesh also. Now, how Cisco Meraki SD-WAN helps us? Sorry. We need reliable connectivity. We have hospitals in more than 100 cities in India, and we need the network connectivity to be seamless because our system cannot go down. In critical care, if somebody's heart stops, I don't have 2 minutes to get my network up and running or my software up and running. So Meraki helps us with reliability. We have network visibility. If a camera goes down or somebody's machine goes down, we know about it right away. Zero-touch provisioning, when we onboard new clients, new hospitals, we can get them up and running in less than 15 minutes. And Cisco Meraki also gives us comprehensive security by intruder prevention, intruder detection, malware, content filtering. So that's a great product by Cisco. We were a part of Cisco for startups a few years ago, and through them, we've gained a lot in what we do. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dhruv. Thank you for that. We move to the next panel for the day. AI for cybersecurity and cybersecurity for AI. Please join me in welcoming our panelists for this session. Our moderator for the session is Mr. Prasad Deore, Senior Director, DSCI. Prasad, can we please have a round of applause? Thank you. Mr. Navaneethan, Senior VP and Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, Head of IT at PayU, formerly. Hi, sir. Happy to have you. Anand Tapikar, Director of Cybersecurity, GE Healthcare. Mr. Arup Mandal, Director, IT and Cybersecurity, Ather Energy. We have Mr. Jackson Fernandez, VP, Information Security at the Bangalore International Airport. Can we please have a round of applause, guys? Little more energy. Thank you. Prasad, I think over to you. Do we have enough mics there?
Hello. Hello. Thank you so much, Jill. I'm sure a lot of discussion around AI since morning. Not just since morning, but I think last entire decade we've been discussing AI. We call this as a decade. And when we talk about AI, quantum, all these technologies are coming at a pace which is unprecedented. Last year around same time, there was a lot of buzz around generative AI. And the single line interface with the prompt throwing what all you need on demand, or you can call it intent computing, created a lot of buzz. And these, if I may call it, it's personal technologies earlier in its earlier phase, be it WhatsApp or ChatGPT, are now entering enterprises. Enterprises are adopting it. And that's the whole theme for this panel discussion. When anything that enters enterprise, GRC come into picture, governance, risk, and compliance. And obviously, cybersecurity, the CISOs need to take certain measures, assess the technology and the implications, the ramifications from privacy perspective, security perspective, what new threats these new technologies are introducing. They need to be ahead in the game. So that's what we'll discuss today, what are the challenges, opportunities, what measures we should take as organizations, any surprises we have seen in recent past, be it deepfake or any other aspects of security. So let me start with this question to all of you. You know, my conversations with CISOs, I was talking about how do you see AI playing role for defenders versus attackers. They're very optimistic as such that it is helping defenders a lot. So what is your take on that?
Awesome. Very good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a very interesting topic in most of the places where we have to put more effort for the cybersecurity, or the cybersecurity in AA, or the AA for the cybersecurity, right? Which are the way just we wanted to protect and take it forward. It may be a very simple the questions, right? How many of you are aware how many apps in your mobile? How many apps in your mobile? It's maybe an Apple or maybe the Android. Which are the things you have it? Anyone? 80,000. Awesome. We have to see that. What is the processor he has it. No, awesome. No, it's really very serious questions, right? I mean, we are thinking about AI somewhere and then cybersecurity somewhere. It's not the case at all. It's in our hand. Really we are not sure, right? How many apps you have in your systems. What are the data it's being reading, from your metadata. And then what are the data it's being listened, right? And then what are things it's capturing on, day to day. So let us take you have an app of maybe the 1.x, and then maybe tomorrow you may be a 1.x, right? Tomorrow it may be a 2.x. It would have updated in the the back end, right? So that's why it's like in terms of the the cybersecurity and then AI, where whatever it is coming to the pictures, it's a completely integrated as part of every human life. So no more it is like the enterprise issues, or maybe it's on the end user issues. It's like a combination of both. It's coming to the picture. And really just we cannot underestimate it, what are the AI, what we have it. Specific problem, whatever we have seen, let's take Israel and the Palestine issues. Israel have Iron Dome, right? Israel had Iron Dome, and where we have a batteries, and then each batteries have the 10 anti-missiles. On the air, just it can goes and then fight against that, right? When the counterpart it is attacking, just they know that like per second, how many things? It's like the max 100 they can launch it. But they have launched within 20 minutes 5,000 plus missiles. This Iron Dome, it got confused, right? In terms of what to target, what to, counter messages on the air. So that was a little bit, challenges over there. The same thing which is going to happen in the current world. We are underestimating, the counterpart with the AI, like what other things can do that. But it's absolutely is going to create a major disaster in a positive way as well as on the, the negative way. So, coming back to the, the threats, just what are the points just you have make it up. It's like a double-edged sword, like how you're going to make up, the impact. And specifically, if you want to talk about the current trends, what are the things we are going in terms of the deep fake, and then, specifically on the voice cloning, it's going to make a huge impact during the election. And already we have seen that a lot of stuff, right? I mean, as maybe the ruling party or maybe the opposition party, just naming them, and then in terms of the creating the, false, allegations from end to end actually. So that's why just we have seen a lot of stuff. Of course, we'll discuss a lot in terms of the projects, what are things we handle across the country.
Thank you. Jackson Youth.
Thank you very much, and thank you, NASSCOM, for having me here. And the answer to Navneethan's question is 74, because he's asked me this question before. So having said that, I mean, of course, I think the rest of my august peers are going to add more to it. I think one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to, I'm dwelling on the positive part of AI, is the cybersecurity human resource crunch. I think that's a huge area of potential, which I see us benefiting as the blue team defending this, benefiting out of AI. And we are seeing the reality of it happen slowly by slowly, which is giving me a lot of hope. Because whether we like it or not, no matter how many programs we put into place, no matter how many universities start cybersecurity courses and everything, we are looking at I think the number last I heard was 4 million deficit on cybersecurity professionals. And I think this cannot be filled just by education alone, and I think AI is going to play a big role in this. And I think I'm going to see more and more, let's say, at least the entry-level cybersecurity positions that is at the forefront of defense, that is going to benefit out of this. So I see this as a huge positive that AI is going to bring into the cybersecurity sphere. Thank you.
Arup, your take on this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, NASSCOM, for having me here. So AI in cybersecurity has always been there. And it has added tremendously in benefits in terms of defending. If I have to answer in sweet and short, so be it network security, endpoint security, or be it web API, all the areas have benefited hugely from AI. And the primary thing that we see with AI is, like one of the things with cybersecurity is 95% or more than that issues happen because of human errors. And that's where AI comes in tremendously and helps mitigate those risks. Now, one thing about AI is it's advancing at a tremendous pace, right? And so that's where probably in the short term, we could see that the attackers gaining an advantage. However, like with all AI systems, right? When we see a breach, the systems mitigate that and learn about it. So over a point of time, what we would eventually see is the systems getting more robust and defenders certainly keeping that advantage. And then also what happens is over a period of time, the cost of defense comes down drastically compared to the cost of a successful breach, right? So definitely with AI, defenders are definitely going to have the upper hand in the long run.
Yeah, hi. In my view also, there are three things I see when we talk about the cyber defense and when we talk about the uh, the two paradigm we shift, put the security is that attacker and defender. So I'm leaning towards it that in the absence of AI, and with the advancement of the AI, defenders becoming a more aware, more powerful than the attacker. Why I'm saying so? Just take a case of identification of an incident. There are thousands of endpoints which any organization will have. There are thousands of nowadays entry points for the attackers to the organization because it is no more a monolithic network. So identifying them with the multiple parameters, with checking them with the weightage of those parameters, I think AI is the way to go forward it. And the second thing is investigation. In the investigation comes when the log, and actually I handle those logs, so it's a terabytes of the logs you get from the different devices, firewall, routers, servers, applications, and everywhere, and how to analyze them without the support of some sophisticated tool. So there was a tool earlier, but now with this addition of AI in those tools, I get a benefit of seeing what I actually want to see in the cyber defense. So I'm definitely leaning toward that the defenders are getting more benefited, but there is a surprise element which attacker has, which we don't know yet. Thank you.
So I agree with you. There are behavioral-based detection systems are now in place because the old way of signature-based detections is fading now. The attackers have become smarter, and similarly the detection systems as well. So I'll ask you another question. Anand, you and Aru both come from the healthcare and automotive industry respectively. When we talk these days products, services, systems, we are embedding AI or they are AI enabled, or people say we have AI engine. So in case of when it comes to products like your organization or your industries respectively, what are the security ramifications when you have AI embedded in your products actually? And how do you deal with them?
Yeah. So I'm sure you must have heard from Anuradha that we are doing a lot of product. We are introducing AI into multiple products. What it means is that the data, now earlier what used to happen, some equipment or some software will go and sit in the customer premise. Customer will use it, their data, they will actually manage the whole data. Now what is happening? The data is coming back to the organization like GE Healthcare. Now that data will be analyzed in the AI models and the predictive analytics or some kind of equipment maintenance or many other use cases will be served with that. That brings a lot of challenge because data is coming. So there is a lot of challenge, and there is a need for the privacy by design and secure by design. And why these requirements are coming in? Because of the standards, because of the compliance standard. Like for example, in India, we have a DP Act, Digital Personal Data Protection Act, as well as in the Europe, we have a GDPR. In the US, we have a HIPAA. For the financial data, we have a PCI DSS and many others. They're all asking for the privacy of the data. And that privacy has to be ensured at multiple levels. When we talk about the AI, what the AI people wants, they want to see if the same patient ID is coming with the multiple time, then what is the trend? What is going through this patient? If this report is referred, radiology report, and there is some other report is referred the same patient ID, they want to correlate that. But what the security people want, they want data to be anonymized completely. The data should not be related with that particular person. Then how to solve that problem? That is what is coming in the cybersecurity in the AI. That's where the security things come in, anonymization come in, the strategy to store a data, take a patient consent, take a consent from the multiple organization, have a contract with them. So it's all a data game where you have to manage the data, you have to secure the system and comply to the standards. Thank you.
Thanks. Arup, over to you.
Yeah. So to add to what Anand mentioned, so the other thing, when we are consuming these products, right, the products which are being built by the tech giants, one thing that we need to make sure is we should not leave the decision making completely to these products. I mean, there should always be a human in the loop. For example, if you're using some code generation tool, and it's become quite prevalent in most organizations now in order to improve productivity. One thing that we need to make sure is, despite this being generated by these large language model tools, we need to make sure that there is certain sort of cadence in terms of a human intervention that happens. So in this case, of course, there needs to be code review. There could be security aspects that might get missed. There could be even performance aspects that get missed because these tools are still evolving, right? The other thing that also organizations need to keep in mind is in terms of awareness. I mean, the basic security frameworks still remain the same, right? So earlier, there was an open foundation for web application security that evolved to API with changing technologies, and now they have the top 10 security risks for LLM models as well. So, so awareness amongst the people developing these tools as well as consuming these tools, that also needs significant enhancement on whether the way it is being carried out is ethical, whether there are inherent biases that could be there, what sort of training data is being put in, and how are you securing that training data? How are you ensuring that the model that is getting developed is robust? It's free, you could do multiple types of vulnerability assessments, right? You could do red teaming, and that's become quite prevalent now to ensure that these models are robust enough. So these are some of the other measures that organizations do need to put in. And of course, overall, organizations also need to build some sort of governance mechanisms around usage of these tools or even development of these products with frameworks in place so that its use, like how it gets consumed or any, to make sure that there are no inadvertent issues cropping up from, say, in terms of IP, privacy, etc. Yeah.
So, the interesting stuff, like there are tools being developed by the RAID side, if I may call it, like Warm GPT or Poison GPT. Any of such activities you have seen in your, with respect to your industry, or any impact you have seen when you are building AI?
So when you talk about generative AI, to be very frank, that generative AI, I feel, and the security, most of the security persons feel, it violates the privacy principle, because in the basic nature of the generative AI to collect the data, where is the consent? Where is the privacy clause followed, right? But for one thing which I like about the ChatGPT or many other this kind of tool is that they provide information on the click of a button, and that information is very, very vital. What is going on? So earlier Google was there, Google search, but we want that context, we want that real information, we want that question answer, so that our security professionals get that context very well. Everybody coming out of the college may not know all the details, but with the help of assisted this generative AI, what I call it, the cybersecurity skills go up. And then what I have seen mainly, those skills are placed into our cybersecurity strategy, risk management, product positioning, as well as the design. So those things helps directly using the generative AI in the product. I have not seen it right now, and I will be very cautious to do that.
Thank you. Yeah. You want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Anand and Arup. See, it's a couple of things, right? When they launched, in terms of, I think, February or March, the ChatGPT 3.5, of course, still we had it, right? It's like the last 20 years where we have a ChatGPT. But it's one of the things when the 3.5 launched and hit the layman, then only people will understand, okay, this is going to add value, how the UPI payment came into the, the Indian human lives. So first and foremost was, from the cybersecurity professional, we all scared in terms of ChatGPT not only feed, right? It will eat also. Now the very less people know that like it will eat the data, right? Because to bring this results, really it has to learn a lot of data sets to have the complete LLM model. So that's what it's like, a multi-billion data just it has been taken, and then from there only we have got into the stuff. And of course, couple of companies, they got into the breach of their respective PPT. They fed the PPT looking for this my problem statement. Why don't you give this the solution on that? So of course that input it has taken as the input for this other company. If I go and ask for some company statistics, by default I'll get it as a statistics, right? That's what it is. And second point is the most major steps, like if you see that it is a data set, what are the things you are feeding, and based on the best practice and then experience it give the inputs, but it's not up to date. If you see any results, it says that like June 2022, as of now, this is what he is the Prime Minister. He is a so-and-so. That's what it's information. It's not like up to date, like what it is, the correlations, the Google does it. See, and third point is mostly as a human being, where we expect more experience, the more AI play very significant role. And coming back to the India standpoint, of course, data privacy, see, if you and me do the journey on the bus or maybe train, like end of the 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we will exchange the entire, a database of us. Something like where you studied and then what you studied, X, Y, Z, all things and all. So really the cultural changes also take some more time in India when compared to so if you take Europe, you cannot ask whether you are male or female. They have rights to sue you. But India, it's not that way, right? Somebody calls and then picks up a call like, do you want insurance X, Y, Z? Only call what we do is, I'm not interested. We don't ask like from where you got my number. So we cannot track it, right? Because that's what it is, ecosystem is going on the different way. So it's a more experience. It's like a very simple example. I think the previous speakers also, they were talking a very interesting way. See, the data is where we need a more experience. Let us take 20 years back where we are doing the banking. It was a different story. And now you do the banking, it's like a one click we're finishing, it's all this stuff, right? And the same way, it's more data is required. Like in terms of, now there is a lot of startups, they are learning a lot of data just to what is the sleeping posture. Sleeping posture, and more than 20, 25 startups they are doing. What is the standing posture? What is the sitting posture? This alone it is going on, because with that, like what is your habit, what is the food style, what is the, the problem it is going to create, it's also a bigger challenges. So for that really just it's need complete ML to feed on the, the auto decision.
Thank you, Navneet. Jackson, to you, simple questions, even people from audience would have it. This generative AI tool, it could be Mid-Journey, it could be ChatGPT, and new tools are coming which are generating codes. As an enterprise, when you're trying to use these technologies either for your in-house processes or for business, how do you deal with it? What are the challenges you face, and what kind of measures, how do you deal with it? Because you don't want to be finally the hindrance for the business. You're finally serving them, and you want to align yourself for the purpose of the business. But as a cybersecurity function, you should not be always being seen as someone who is policing, but also enabling. So how do you deal with this?
What I can say, Prasad, is that I think we left the boat on that. A lot of organizations already see cybersecurity as a roadblock. I think what a lot of CISOs are doing right now is pulling them back to show them that we are enablers for business. So yes, I think for me, I would say we have slightly more uniquely tuned challenges, because we are a heavily regulated industry, I'm sure, like healthcare is. Aviation is heavily regulated. We have various ministries and various government bodies who do the same. So we have to be careful. And I think that is one of the challenges that I think most industries would face generally, is the regulation around AI. How do we navigate that? I know that a lot of organizations, NASSCOM included, the SCI, others are, like say, trying to tackle this upfront. But the regulatory implications of using AI, how do we do it? Is the, like Navanithan said, is the data sets right? Is this approved? All of that is going to be challenges. Now, on the product side of things, because you buy, as CISOs, we do end up with a lot of, technical cybersecurity debt on our portfolios. The question is, everybody wants to sell the next slice of bread, so which is, AI. Now, in this case, now for a lot of us, and quite frankly, I'll be the first to admit, am I an expert on AI? No, I'm not an expert on AI. I need to know if somebody is claiming that, oh, this has AI. Now, whether he's claiming that AI is in a a mouse or a keyboard or on my security platform, I need to understand how does it help me at the end of the day. As a consumer of AI, I need to know what difference does it make? What value does it bring to this? So these are the challenges, and for this, self-education as a consumer is important. The regulatory aspect, which is a challenge sometimes in implementing some of this, because as an airport, we have beautiful use cases, with regards to where we can use AI, where we can use autonomous. Like for example, a lot of the airports, because on the air side of things, it's a very boundary condition on the air side, where airplanes are and the ground handling crew are. It's a very defined, controlled environment, unlike the rest of India where we drive on the wrong side. On an air side, it's very different. So there, implementing an autonomous solution with AI is a wonderful use case. But then you have to understand the number of hoops as a regulatory aspect, because one incident is enough to stop it across, let's say, whole of India, if not the globe. So those are the considerations that as a business, we look at and we try to grapple with when we want to implement AI. So both as a provider of AI from our side into that, and cybersecurity, of course, as a layer on top to see that somebody cannot, let's say, imagine, this is just hypothetical, but let's say an airside autonomous vehicle with AI built into it, getting corrupted with incorrect data. What that can do is tremendously this thing. So those are the kind of things that we have to actually look forward to and grapple with as we go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jackson. Quickly, I know we are running out of time. Any questions from audience? Any questions? Okay. I think thank you. You all are experts now in cybersecurity after this session. Quickly, before we leave, because there is a significant part of the audience is also either interacting with startups or they are from startup community. What do you think are the business opportunities for startup and within the AI for cybersecurity or cybersecurity in AI? May I start with Navneet?
So it's like a thief and police concept, right? When we have a more attack, that's what, of course, as a CISO, we learn a lot. Okay, there is a possibility of getting into these organizations, right? So that's why this AI it can be used by both, like in terms of the defender as well as offender, right? That aspects as opportunities are more in terms of early detection is the biggest challenges. Right now, if you see, it's like minimum it takes 90 days to detect like your system is compromised or your environment is compromised. So it will help us to have a more accuracy in terms of like how soon we can detect and then respond saying that like this incident has happened or the system is compromised or the environment is in the the bigger issues, right? So that aspect really we are coming with a lot of startups. Of course, we are mentoring a lot of the startups on the specifically on AI and for the audit and then compliance and governance and in terms of the overall incident management.
Thank you.
From a startup perspective, I think the scene in India is amazing. I was very recently at another place where I was part of the jury for some startups, and amazing pipeline I think we have, and I think the ecosystem also provides it. I can see Startup Karnataka is on that. They were also the same, sponsors on that side a few weeks ago. So I think the startup part of it, amazing pipeline and all. But I think, there is, if you allow me, there's a Venn diagram of startups with a great product and startups with a great presentation. Now, the problem is the intersection of both these Venn diagrams and the people who are in between is who become the unicorns and then go on to do great things. I think the startups which have a great product but are not able to market it properly is where I think the focus that startup sponsors like Startup Karnataka will have to play. Because I think there are quite a lot of out there. It's just not marketed as well as we could. So I think from that perspective, I'm looking for that intersection. And just to point to something Arup said earlier, AI replacing humans, I heard a wonderful quote from a data scientist at a firm. He said, AI will not replace humans, whether in cyber or otherwise. AI will replace humans who don't know AI. So if you know AI as a human, you will not get replaced. But if you don't know, you will get replaced. Thank you.
To answer your question, in terms of business opportunities like that I see, right? I mean, if I look at the security products that we implement at my organization or other organizations that I see, most of these are either from the US or somewhere in Israel. And I see a gap there. And many of these products are, like one is, of course, they have a lot of data, but they also depend on a lot of AI algorithms, behaviors to understand where the anomaly is, right? So I definitely see there is a space for startups in the, specifically based out of India, in the cybersecurity space. And that's where I would like to meet any startups who are in this space.
Yeah, no problem. So what I see, there is a huge scope for the startups. Why I'm saying a huge scope, because whatever product we are using, security product I'm talking about, they all can be AI enabled. Why a human needs to look at the log? Why not some software analyze the log, understand it, and give me a feedback? That's the one area. The second area, for the CISO perspective, that why can't CISO can get a dashboard, what is going on? Like in a shop floor, it used to happen earlier. You go in a shop floor, what machine is down, what machine is up, that information comes very simple format. Why can't it can be, AI can give me that analyzed information? The third area is that enabling the business, what you are in. For example, I'm in healthcare business. Then what challenges I actually shown, those challenges can be solved with the innovative solutions by the startups. Data is the challenge. AI people needs the data. How to handle that data securely, how to make use of data without making that privacy, without diminishing the privacy principle. That's a critical area. So if I can jot down, there will be enough use cases for the startups to work on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anand. I think there are many use cases that are popping up from cybersecurity perspective, and which will kind of talk about AI and ramifications from security and privacy perspective. It could be data discovery, it could be data protection, it could be, as he said, regulatory compliance. And there are a few startups, I think, exhibiting here. I think we all should take a look at them, who are exhibiting these solutions. And on that note, I would like to conclude this panel discussion. Thank you so much for patient hearing. Thank you, panelists, for your cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prasad. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for being there and sharing your thoughts with us. Requesting Navratan sir to please share our token of Just going to make a quick announcement while this happens. We have a cocktails and networking session at 6:30. I can't have all of that myself, so please stay back.